Hey everybody, how y'all doing? Women Carry Knives here. Tonight we're going to be looking at two knives, both by Artisan, both the Cygnus, but a little bit different in their own rights. So we'll start with this one. This is, again, like I said, it is the Artisan Cutlery Cygnus. These knives were actually named after a constellation, which I find interesting sometimes how they get their names for these knives. This knife is absolutely gorgeous. I love, a lot of people don't like the holes in the blade. It just kind of gives it something. It goes along with this beautiful handle. This is actually a G10 handle. It is a liner lock, if you can see that in there. It is D2 steel. And they call it a drop point blade, but I don't know that I would call it a drop point blade. Again, G10 handle. The pivot assembly is a ceramic ball bearings. This is a really smooth flipper. Now, I know we had talked about on a couple of these, this is not a reverse clip. You cannot make it ambidextrous. So it is not left hand, right hand. It is right hand only. Tip up carry. One downfall is that it does not have a deep pocket carry clip. So unfortunately, when holding this in your pocket, and we'll use this as an example, you are going to be, okay, that's a terrible example. You're going to be sticking up at least little over ½ inch. So half to maybe 3/4 of an inch on that. If you're okay with that, it's a great knife. This one is light, as a matter of fact, because it is, like I said, the G10. So your overall blade length on this is just over, I'm going to close this and set it aside, it's just over 3½ inches. Your blade thickness back here is about 1/1500ths of an inch. I mean, it's got just a beautiful look to it right here. Your total handle length on this is, let's go here, 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 inches total handle length. Maybe just a tad bit smaller. So you're almost overall 8½ inches. It has a great liner lock on here. Now it is raised just a bit. I'm not one who likes to try and get my fingernails in there, obviously. I've commented on that before, but you do have a little bit of that groove in here that makes it so much easier to be able to get in there and release that liner lock. It is a super smooth flipper. It's carbon fiber backspacer. It does have a little area here. I can't remember what it's called for if you can get a lanyard in there. I actually would prefer my lanyards at the end of a knife, not on the top. The handle is milled out to just make this thing feel so good in your hand. And you have some jimping here. Let's close that up. You have some jimping right here on the back of the spine, and it really does let you choke up on it. You also have your sharpening choil or your finger choil, which gets you even higher. Now, because the jimping is on the spine of the blade and not the blade itself, it does make it a little more difficult. But I would prefer, because this is a larger size as far as being long, I actually prefer to be back behind the blade completely. And again, with that jimping there, it really does make it, you know, you can really get in there with it. The clip, it's raised just enough to where it would be a little bit annoying to me, but it rides the pocket so nice. It is just, it's a great clip. It's sturdy enough that it's not gonna pop out of your pocket. It has a good enough retention to it that it's strong enough to really stay in there. It's not going to come out unless you want it to come out. This is just a great knife. Now, if we go to the brother or sister, or whatever you would like to call it, let's take a look at this beauty. Now, me personally, I actually prefer this one. The reason I prefer this one is because, number one, you know, I tend to like sometimes a little bit more flashy of a color. But this is S35VN steel. It is the same blade length. It's a little over 3.5 inches. It is the same blade thickness, which is 0.15 of an inch. So, I mean, it's got a great width to it. It is, like I said, it's S35 steel. They call it a drop point. Your overall on this one is exactly the same. It is just about 8.5 inches. Now, I like this one. There's a little bit of heft to it. I don't know if I said the weight on the G10. The weight on the G10 is actually only 4.25 ounces. So, you know, it's a fairly light knife. This one is just, it's supposed to be 4.25 too, but you know, that titanium just makes it feel so good. And it's just, I love, it's beautiful. This titanium is absolutely beautiful. I love the colors, that kind of bluish purple, opalescent-y, you know, depending on which way you're holding it in the light. And it looks pretty much like all you guys can see is a blue color to it, but you can get the purple in there a little bit. It's got the titanium backspacer, all titanium. I believe it's titanium. I'd actually have to check on that. It is not ambidextrous. Again, this is a right-hand flipper. It is very smooth. This is also ceramic ball bearing pivot assembly. It is super smooth. I love how it kind of has, you know, the hollowed out frame in there. And you just have the backspacer just, I can't even tell you how thick that is. That is very small, but I really do love how it's kind of hollowed out, how you can just, it's just, it makes, I think that really to me is what kind of is the kicker. It makes it a little bit lighter. Now, again, I know I've talked about, I like this liner lock because it is raised just enough to where, you know, you can get into it with having to use your fingernail. But I am still a fan of the frame locks, and I just find them easier. They're easier for me. To me, I guess they seem sometimes a little bit sturdier. I know some people say that they don't like that because they feel that the wear and tear on it's going to be a little bit worse. But this one is S35VN blade steel. I don't know if I said that or not. I'm kind of backtracking on that one a little bit. Again, this feels really good. Now, the titanium is a little bit more slippery. There is no jimping here. So that does make the big difference. We had talked on this one that you have the jimping back here, which does make it, you know, easier to really get a grip on there. The titanium does tend to be a little more slick, so it, you know, your hand feels a little more like it's going to slide around some. Otherwise, I think these are both great knives. These were actually loaned to us by Artisan Cutlery, and really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Artisan. It has just been wonderful being able to play with these knives, really get them in hand, to be able to feel them, see what I want, and know that that was kind of tricky because I like the more expensive one. But again, these are two great blades. They're fun. They are several different colors on the titanium one. You got to get one of these in hand. They're not uber expensive. You get a chance, check them out. Thanks so much for joining me, you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments section. I love talking to you guys. And thanks so much for joining me. Until next time.